The biggest issue facing mixed reality passthrough has always been this. Missing visual data has always been previously masked by this distortion, but somehow the computer vision team has almost fixed this issue by doing some incredible work and once again massively improving the Quest 3's passthrough, potentially just in time for the announcement of the MetaQuest 3S. But that's not everything. We finally have a huge Bonelab update. With the release of the highly anticipated patch 4, we get a sneak peek of the upcoming Batman and Alien games, and some disappointing news about the upcoming Ready Player One game. And so welcome back to another week's worth of VR news. Bonelab has had some mixed reviews, with some of the more hardcore community disappointed by the lack of updates. The main issue was the lack of communication and the fact we did not get the game we expected or was promised. Boneworks was essentially Gary's mod for VR, a playground for the modded community to create their own versions of what they wanted to see from the game, and originally Bonelab promised to be the next iteration of that, to improve on every aspect and to offer a solid SDK to allow the community to flourish. But when Bonelab launched, we had an okayish campaign, an incomplete SDK, but that was until now. Through several updates through X, Brandon has been getting the community ready for patch 4, and it's finally here and solves nearly all of the issues I just mentioned, but unfortunately creates one big issue that I'll get to at the end. But let's go over what it brings. Patch 4 improves and changes the player rig mechanics as they have been overhauled for a smoother, more accurate experience. The zone system has been revamped to create a better, more performance-friendly level creation from the SDK. Showing on screen now, this will allow for more complex and larger scenes, helping with performance on both custom creations and the main game. And finally, the full Marrow SDK has officially launched, and this is the Golden Goose, the tool to essentially create everything from within the Bonelab framework. Tools like this create games within games, and it's how Counter-Strike was born. So a more polished SDK over time with the right community will give birth to some incredible experiences. If you'd like to get started with the SDK, there are some handy tutorials on Stress Level Zero's channel. For those who just want to play the new updated game, there is now native mod.io support, which allows you to download mods from within Bonelab, so no plugging it into a PC for Quest users. And additionally, quality of life improvements, bug fixes, and significant enhancements in rendering, memory use, and overall performance has been addressed. Basically, this is the game that was supposed to be released. Hopefully, what this means is we will finally get a game we all expected, a game that the community can help steer into something truly special. But as the modding community knows, updates break mods, and currently roughly 80% of the mods are now actually broken. This is annoying, but unfortunately that's the price to pay for software updates. Hopefully the new tools and integrations allow them all to get fixed. But now briefly let's talk about something that was announced the other day. So if we take a step back to 2012, this was essentially the birth of the VR we know today. Oculus was the original name for what Meta is now, and it all began with Palmer Luckey. He had a very different vision for what VR was meant to be. Much like John Carmack, he wanted VR to be widely accessible to all, with less focus on high-performance headsets and more of a broader focus on giving headsets to everybody. Well, after bouts of drama and name changes, Palmer hasn't been in the VR game for some time, but it looks like he could be making a comeback. He started with a few ominous tweets about projects he's working on, and then outright confirmed he's working on a new headset in response to Sadly It's Bradley, and he will be announcing it at AWE, which will be running from June 18th to June 20th, so keep an eye out for that. Another game that's had a very slow start is Blade and Sorcery. The game has been in early access for what seems like forever, but finally the game is out of early access with Blade and Sorcery 1.0. June 17th is the release of this update, and the Quest Nomad Edition will release at a later date. Essentially, this update gives the game purpose. Playing in the background now is the trailer for the 1.0 update, and just to note, the price will increase to $29.99 from June 17th. So if you're thinking about buying this game, it's probably best to buy it now whilst it's cheaper. The 1.0 update basically brings dungeons, a story, progression, new spell mechanics, and a general overhaul to improve performance. I'm genuinely more excited for this than Bonelab, as Blade and Sorcery has, in my opinion, superior mechanics. Next we get some incredible screenshots from both the Batman and Alien games, and these honestly look like PC games from these screenshots. Batman Arkham Shadow will be more like Arkham Asylum in terms of player freedom, but the only thing that does concern me is this screenshot. I hope this is not scripted fights and just some sort of combo multiplayer. Other than that, this could be incredible. It's made by the same team who made Iron Man VR, which in all honesty wasn't that bad. But it's the Alien game that gets me excited. Alien Isolation was a game that would have been perfect if it was native VR. We don't know much about this game, but the screenshots look incredible. All we know so far, it has a similar dynamic AI for the Xenomorph that will be absolutely terrifying in VR, and it will be made in Unreal Engine 5, which is known to be typically demanding for VR, but that explains the incredible visuals. But in terms of gaming, it's not all good news. The team behind the Ready Player One game, Open, looks like they are slaughtering the IP with this new footage showing the game's mechanics and how it uses generative AI to add objects and scenery. This, in my opinion, literally looks like a PS3 game. It's supposed to be a battle royale powered by Web3 and the Readyverse, but in reality companies like Epic Games are so far ahead with their version of the metaverse that without significant investment, the Readyverse will probably never be ready. Next we have some major changes to Quest with the V66 update. Somehow they've done some magic on the Quest pass-through by significantly reducing the Quest's distortion. The video by Boz gives the best representation of these changes, and it's difficult to tell how they've actually done this, because the distortion is only there to mask the areas the camera can't see. So my assumption this is using some sort of AI magic. Hopefully this is the path to distortion-free mixed reality, because that would be incredible. We also get some other features, but more on the generic side compared to the pass-through change. Wrist buttons are now on the Experimentals tab, and you can have some nice home wrist buttons, well, on your wrist. The automatic furniture capture is now part of the main space setup on Quest, and you can also hide apps in your library, so we can finally get rid of those pesky demos taking up all that space on the menu. Lastly, for the updates, you now have the option to be able to play background music more easily by simply playing a song from the browser menu. You'll get a pop-up like this where you can choose to play some Aria Math whilst playing Battle Talent. On a final note, Netflix is now available from the Quest browser also, which tells me the main media focus will be from the Quest browser in the future, which does actually make sense, but it definitely still needs improvements. I hope you all enjoyed today's video, like and subscribe if you did, and as always I'll catch you on the next one.